Welcome back to the channel, everybody. How you doing? I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here. Today we're going to talk about Dazed top 10 books that are dating red flags. So apparently this was a thing a couple weeks ago. I had no idea. I literally just saw a video of it yesterday and I was like, I kind of want to talk about it. I have no idea. This is literally just fresh knowledge of myself. I have my laptop up and I'm going to show you like what it says about each book. And I can already tell by this thumbnail, there is 5 books already on here that I have read that are red flags apparently while dating. So I guess my girlfriend is screwed because I'm a red flag. I am literally a walking red flag now. So we're gonna get into this list. Like I said, I haven't seen this list, but the thumbnail itself has already showed me like what's the red flag. So the first one on here is Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. I actually read Clockwork Orange last year and I gave it like a 3 out of 5 for rating. Yeah, so apparently it's safe to say that if the person you are dating thinks that Alex is an inspirational anti-hero, it's safe to say you should probably run. That's like the main focus of this. It talks a little bit about Clockwork Orange, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I haven't met anyone that actually thinks Alex is an anti-hero about it at all. Most people just talk about just the depths of the writing and the process of this dystopia kind of world a lot of people talk about. That's kind of what I thought about it. I didn't really go into thinking, wow, Alex is a savior, he is fighting the crime. Not really. I didn't think like that at all. And the book is really hard to understand in general, though. It's probably one of the hardest books I've ever read, and not just because it's graphic, it's just because it's a very tough read. The way it's written is very tough. This one kind of stings because I talk about this one quite a bit, but The Catcher in the Rye is on this. But I feel like The Catcher in the Rye is always one of those books that is constantly on lists of people just don't like. I feel like it's always been there. Every time, even since I was a little kid, every time I've heard Catcher in the Rye, I didn't want to read it because of the impact of it behind the scenes, of just every single thing that everyone talks about, all the bad things about it. So when I was a kid, I never wanted to read it. As a grown adult, I didn't want to read it until I read it last year. A lot of these books I actually read last year, which is just hilarious. So there's that. And essentially this part that's talking about The Catcher in the Rye is just like the things that people were like influenced by the book of, like, you know, murdering other people. That's essentially what they're talking about. That's why they said it's a red flag. But to my knowledge, I think only one celebrity was like assassinated from this book, 1 or 2. So that means everyone else who bought this book, which was probably like, I don't know, we'll say like 40 million people. I have no idea how many copies was sold on Catcher in the Rye. Haven't done that, and I'm one of them. I never once was like, oh, I gotta go murder some fools right now. I never once had that thought in my head. So that's interesting. The next one on this list is The Alchemist. I've never read The Alchemist, so I can't really say too much about this one. So this one is basically, the summary is, I don't know what this book is about, but my ex talked about it a lot and it was really annoying. So there's that. Article is supposed to be for red flags for, you know, men and women, but this is more just digs towards men in general. And then you have like self-help books, and they're more talking about, oh, these are like conservatives or like red-pilled men, alpha males that just only read self-help books. But it's like, I'm not trying to get into like politics or anything, but it's like, who cares? Women read self-help books all the time, so like, why does it matter? A lot of these things, every time I see these lists, I think this list is just to trigger people and make it so people are like, what the heck is like hate farming essentially. So it's doing a good job, I feel like, because I haven't read this, but already I'm like, what is going on? And I'm not going to be like hateful towards this. It's everyone's list, it's their opinions. I just think it's hilarious. I'm like, I have to make a video about it. I just thought it was kind of funny to read it and understand. But yeah, self-help is just a weird thing to get upset about. I feel like if you only read self-help books, maybe you need more than just self-help for reading wise. I feel like if I went to someone's house and all they had is self-help books, maybe I guess it would be, I don't really think of red flags like that. I would just be like, oh wow, they really are trying to work on themselves. But yeah, if it was like self-help of how to make it so you don't kill fools, then all right, I probably wouldn't hang out with you. But most of these are like regular self-help books I read. I can't say the word on YouTube, but I'm gonna have a picture of the book right here of the article. So the next one is a little bit of a dig. Like I said, it is the Percy Jackson series, and basically I'm going to sum it up pretty easily. It's, this woman is like, I want to read trashy, horny werewolf books, but I can't have a connection with a man who reads Percy Jackson because it's for kids. And it's just a weird thing to say, because it's like a lot of books that women read nowadays, they're like, a lot of women, when you hear what their favorite books are, most of them is like books that they grew up with, is like YA novels. A lot of them are always like, oh, Harry Potter or Hunger Games or the Maze Runner series. Those 3 series alone came out around the same time Percy Jackson did. That's why I'm like, why does this matter? Why is it that deep? It's just so weird reading this. It's just, you could tell these are written by people who had beef with somebody who read these books, and they're like, I'm gonna make this a red flag. And it's like, why? Like, I read Percy Jackson when I was younger. It was actually the first book that got me into, like, truly got me into reading, because Percy Jackson is dyslexic and I'm dyslexic, so I could really relate to Percy throughout the whole series as a whole. My favorite Greek god at the time was Poseidon, so of course it just made it even better. I don't know, I feel like it's just a really weird thing to say that's a red flag. I'm also one of those guys that's just like rolls my eyes when I hear icks all the time, or red flags. Like, everyone is a red flag. Like, everyone has a red flag. Hey, I'm telling you, it's flying somewhere in that person. Sometimes you just gotta look around that red flag, especially if it's a Percy Jackson book. Like, it'd be the weirdest thing if I went on a date with a girl and she was like, oof, you read Percy Jackson? You need to grow up. It's just a weird thing to say. I've never understood that. So the next one on this is American Psycho. So I read American Psycho 2 years ago, and I thought the book was really, really good. Now, in this, it's talking about how essentially men who like American Psycho and they kind of like worship Patrick Bateman are misogynist, alpha male, Giga Chad, conservative men. And I think those kind of dudes that worship Patrick Bateman are like 14 years old. That's what you would see on TikTok, is most men that act like that. The men that like this book are like anti-capitalism, I think that's what it says. Oh, it's a critique on consumer capitalism is essentially what they're saying, is like, that's okay. I think reading American Psycho, I never once was like, oh, I can relate to Patrick Bateman. When I was reading it, I was seeing how detailed and how well written the book was. The story of the book is what makes it so good. Just how fine detailed and what's going on in Patrick Bateman's mind. Now, there's going to be people that probably relate to Patrick Bateman. Probably. You should probably avoid those people. But what I'm saying is, in general though, with American Psycho, I think a lot of people just look at the finer details of like a routine that Patrick Bateman does, for example. Because clearly routines are really popular in online social media. So like, Patrick Bateman has such a crazy tight-knit routine that he does every single day. So a lot of people try to copy that kind of thing. That's like my assumption. I don't really look too deeply like that. That's my only way I could say it. But it's just a really weird thing to point, like, why. I could understand, like, if I went, my girlfriend and I, when we first met, and she asked me what's like my favorite book, and I said American Psycho, and she's like, well, why? And I told her, I just love Patrick Bateman. I think every single thing he does in that book is awesome. Yeah, that might be a little bit of red flag, but I've talked to plenty of guys where we've talked about American Psycho, and the difference between the book and the movie, I think the guys who watch the movie are a lot different than the guys who love the book. A lot of people who talk about the book are the ones that are talking about the finer details of the book. The way that it's written is what's usually the driving force of that. Now, the movie, I just think Christian Bale just freaking kills it. On to the next one. So this one, I can't pronounce the author's last name, so apparently I have no opinion on this one. That's what they said. And like I said, I feel like it was just digs towards like one, like these, like the author or authors, I don't know who all wrote on this, but they clearly have like one dude they met or like dated or just something that just triggers them. They're like, oh my gosh, this man. And it's just so wild to think. But this one is essentially the same exact thing as American Psycho, where if you're basically, it's like right-wing memes and right-wing pages are the guys that like love these books, and I'm like, why is it always like political things? Like, I just don't understand. Funny story is, when I heard like right-wing or left-wing, I was so confused. I thought they were talking about Star Wars for the longest time. So that's my knowledge when it comes to these kind of things. All right, so the next one is Lolita. You guys already know I've read Lolita a couple weeks or a month ago. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm gonna sum this up pretty quick. If you want to relate like Humbert on a long trip across the country with a 12-year-old girl, yeah, that's a little sus, and I don't think you should say that's your favorite book. I do agree with that. I can't say anything else because the book is very, very disturbing. So the next one on here is All About Love by Bell Hooks. This one is kind of funny. Like I'm telling you, every single one of these parts I keep reading, these article clips, is someone clearly has an issue with a guy that read this book, and I just think it's so funny. Like it is actually hilarious, but it's essentially they were making fun of a guy because he bought the book and he took a picture of himself reading it, and I guess all the comments were like, oh, you're only on one page, dog, and it's just collects dust, but like he just keeps it there to like woo women with, and it's just like a really weird thing, and it's just so personal. I feel like all these are so personal towards like a certain guy that this girl or women, I don't know how many women wrote this article. I feel like there's like multiple. Unless it's the same girl, then maybe you should date a guy that just doesn't like to read. That might be easier. But this is just hilarious. Like, it's just so weird how personal. Every time I kept reading this, it just feels so personal that I'm like, ooh, okay. weird. So this one, I'm probably gonna butcher the last one, so I'm really sorry in advance, but it's Fedora Does Niski? I'm really sorry if I just butchered the hell out of that name. But it's the author of Crime and Punishment. Essentially, this one is talking about how, congratulations, the guy who reads this has a brain cell. But also congratulations that this guy is still a walking red flag, because this book, a lot of his books are talking about like really in-depth things of like, of good, of God, of bad, the spiraling of insanity of what some of these characters are going into that some men could relate to. And it's just a really weird thing to think of like a red flag. So those are all the books. I'm going to talk a little bit about this now. I just want to talk about it. Like, I have made some little jabs at it, like some jokes, because I don't really think about this, and I'm not like, oh, I'm so upset. I kind of just want to make a video about it and just talk about it because I think it's just fun. I've never done a video like this before, so I wanted to test that water as well. At the end of the day, I say this all the time. Every single time I do a video, I say this every single time. Read whatever you want. I feel like men or women, girls, if you date a guy that is reading American Psycho and he says he relates to Patrick Bateman, then you should probably not date him if you are going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to murder me. And to all the guys out there, if you are with a girl that is reading Colleen Hoover books, you should probably just avoid her too. There's that. I really don't care what people read. I think reading is the most important thing in the world, other than like family and other things. But I think reading is very important, and I think everyone should read. I don't think you should be attacked for what you're reading at all, unless I just think you should not be attacked for what you're reading at all. And if men out there, if you guys want to read your Percy Jackson books, read Percy Jackson. There is going to be some girl out there that will appreciate you reading Percy Jackson still. Especially if you tell a girl, I really relate to Percy, because I also have dyslexia. They're gonna be like, oh man, that's so sweet. I think that's just the better element in general. I'm gonna say this one more time. Read whatever you want. It's weird that thinking like men after they graduate high school feel like they cannot read things that they grew up with from high school, because it's like a mental thing. It's like a fear of getting made fun of. And I was in that spot before. And then all of a sudden I just said, screw it. I'm gonna reread Percy Jackson. I'm gonna read Harry Potter. I'm gonna reread Hunger Games. I'm gonna read Goosebumps. When you kind of stop caring of what other people are going to tell you that you can and cannot read, or what you should and should not read, you kind of just read and enjoy what you want. That's like the most important thing. Read whatever you want. And if someone doesn't like what you're reading, who cares? Talk to them why you like the book. If they don't agree with you, who cares? Just read it and then move on. That's my logic. And that's how I always stick with it. There's books that I have read that people are going to be like, that book sucks. Why would you read that book? This book is terrible. You're a terrible person for reading that. I'm going to be like, cool. I'm going to still read this book, because that's just what you do. You should enjoy what you're reading. If you don't enjoy what you're reading, then, well, change the genre. With that being said, last thing, stay safe, stay humble, and tell someone you love them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay weird.